AC here. Hi guys. Okay, today is going to be the third installment of SpookyUniversity Alumni, and we'll see how it goes on. I mean, if I feel that there's a real interest or not, well, we'll go on. Otherwise, we'll just change the title and I'll keep on blogging in a way, and you can always reply if you want. Now, I thought today actually I'd talk about childhood imaginary friends. You can tell, maybe you can talk about, what have you had in this experience. I'll talk about myself actually. When I was young, the imaginary friend of friends was actually part of a group. I mean, we had, it was something, that together with my brother and, partially alone and so on, we had invented a group of people called the Hermes. Don't ask me where the name came from. I actually been trying to think about it myself. I don't know. So it's the good Hermes and the bad Hermes, and there was a whole series of hierarchies in there. So it was like families and so on, and we had invented all type of things with these imaginary friends. Codes and stories and intrigues and so on. And I was thinking about that the other day, is that, imaginary friends are something that we need, I think, sometimes as children, but also you'll build up a certain amount of confidence and maybe intimacy, actually, with imaginary friends that you don't dare maybe build up with other friends. I had one of my teddy bears who, in the evening, at night, I should say, when I was in bed, who became a superhero, this type of thing. And of course, in our imagination, we had a lot of adventures. Imaginary friends, I think, are something that we probably still need to have in a way. I'm not talking in a way about being schizophrenic and having somebody who's talking in your head in a voice in a way, but the fact is that the imaginary friends, you can hear my heating system going on, the imaginary friends permitted us actually to talk and have an echo, and to a point actually reflect back as what we were thinking. I think we were building a lot of our personality into that, if you had an imaginary friend. Now, going on about that actually is that I've heard at times, or what about your virtual friends? Well, actually, these are not imaginary friends. They're real people. And we've touched on that more than once, actually, so I'm not going to come back on it. But maybe just one little thing where I will talk about friends which are on the net and so on, is that especially if you get an address or something, of course, they become even more real. Because that's actually part of the point, isn't it? If somebody... I've had one or two people, which disappeared, so to say. And people that I had nice contacts with. And when they disappeared, they're gone. So in a way, in that respect, they are an imaginary friend. Because, if you can't catch back on them, they're gone. So it's something of your past. It's something that's nice. But I guess, this can happen with real friends as well. Now, what about yourselves? How did you have, what type of imaginary friends do you have? Were you going through imaginary friends through, for example, when I said that there was my teddy bear, for example, which became a type of imaginary friend, a la Calvin and Hobbes type? Or was it somebody who was invisible? Okay, I just have to do what I was thinking about. I said I didn't want to throw this in. Now, some people say that prayer is a way of talking to an imaginary friend. Well, actually, for those of you who are Christian, you know that we're not talking about something, at least in our... I don't say he's an imaginary friend. I would say, God is real. Stop. Okay. I was thinking about it as I was going on about, what would we chat about. So I'm not talking about those, imaginary friends in that respect. I know that some of you might have imaginary friends which would come from the spirit world. Once again, I don't think we're talking about the same thing here, because we're talking about, even if it's something that's not like tangible that you can, like, grab it, it's still something that's real. I think the imaginary friends that I'd like to chat about more in this respect are really, the ones that we laugh about now when we see a kid, talking to his imaginary friend and having a real conversation. And this is what I mean. Now, really, as I was saying in the beginning, is that I think that it's really, really important to have an imaginary friend. And I believe now that in a way, I still do have an imaginary friend, except it's evolved. It's myself. I've come to be a friend with myself. But by that I mean is that when I go on and hash an idea, you can bring the pros and cons, and you're kind of thinking in your head. And if you've actually developed, I think, over your childhood, part of the fact of, discussing with an imaginary friend, you're able to use that process of discussion in yourself, and actually I think you can discuss with your inner psyche. I think your inner person is actually pulling out ideas that are just dormant at times. And you're doing that because you're actually bringing these questions. And funnily enough, I think you're creating a dialogue with yourself and your inner self. I don't know, is it a bit weird? Maybe it is. But I think it's actually, like I said, pretty important. You've got to get to probably that child of us and get it out again. And then again, it's not always a child. It's the inner person that's talking. Because as we know, the world is getting at us. A lot of us, at least. Sometimes the world gets to me pretty big time. And I need to think about it. And before going actually sometimes to somebody else, you've got to clarify things in yourself. And that's part of chatting with that imaginary friend, which has now become myself, within myself. Boy, this is getting heavy. Okay, so anyway, guys, this will be the Spooky University Alumni topic for this week. Talk to me about imaginary friends. But that'll be it for this week on Spooky University Alumni. And, feel free to bring a topic. Feel free to make a vid as a topic vid. I'm not the only person in this alumni. There's a lot of us. And with that, DC signing off. Take care.